Hi everyone, my name's Ashley. Today I'm going to be painting this picture that I took. So the first thing I did was I did 1 inch off for borders. You don't see it in the video because I thought it was recording a time lapse, but I also had to size up my image that I printed because that is 8.5 by 11 inches and my paper that I'm painting on is obviously very large, so I just doubled the size and I got the 1 inch grids that I needed. Recently I've been using the grid technique a lot in order to get the proportions right on my most recent paintings and artwork, and it's very helpful. So I noticed that you couldn't really see what I was doing, so I zoomed in for you. And I just started tracing using the proportions from the original photo and trying to trace as best as I can to my painting. With this painting, I didn't want it to be exactly like the photo because I wanted it to look like a painting, and truth be told, I'm not the best at realism, but my first step was trying to recreate the clouds, and as I was pointing out in the video, there's a lot of different dark to light shades and different colors of blue and gray, and then there's also like the pink to yellow sunset. So the colors I used were Cobalt Blue Hue, Titanium White, Ivory Black, Crimson, and a little bit of Cadmium Yellow. So from the picture you can obviously see that it's very light yellow and very light pink. So what I did was I took a lot of titanium white and mixed it with crimson to get pink. And I did the exact same thing with the yellow using a new brush and using cadmium yellow with titanium white to create those pastel looking colors. I tried to create the gradient as best as I could. And I also started mapping out other parts that were yellow and pink in the sky, and then I began to use blue and try to mimic as best as possible. With acrylics, I like to work in layers, so I like to put the base layer first and not worry too much about if it's perfect right away. What I like about acrylics is that you can layer it as much as you can to create the desired effect and look that you want for your painting. So what I did next was I took titanium white and I tried mapping out the clouds as best as I could. I was obviously using the photo for reference, but also taking my interpretation and making it a little bit different, so it's not exactly realism, but it looks similar to the photo. Truth be told, this guy was giving me a really hard problem and I felt like giving up, and honestly I had finals that week, so I was really stressed out about that as well. And it wasn't looking right regardless of the amount of colors I tried and mixed, and honestly I wanted to take a break from this, so day 2. Please don't come for me for my brushes and how dirty they are. I've had these for years and I'm in need of new ones. sir, what are you working on? Did you do this? Yeah? It looks good so far. So this is where I picked up from yesterday. I grabbed the exact same colors that I used yesterday to really fix the sky as much as I possibly could. So here's just a nice little aesthetic shot of the paints. So trying at it again the second day really gave me a better confidence, and I looked at it from a different perspective. And I really feel like blending colors that were in between and mixing them as much as I could into the painting really helped the sky. So I started with the pond, river, lake thing and try to create reflections. And in the picture it has like ripple effects, but I want it to be a little bit more like it looks like it was painted, but also it looks like the water. I also painted around the model in my painting because I was really scared to paint his shirt and his hair. So here's a close-up view on the house. I try to make it as watery looking as I could. I don't know if I phrased that correctly for the bottom because it is a reflection. And then I created the branches. I think out of this whole painting, the trees were my favorite part to do because it's easy to make them look like individual leaves, but also it doesn't have to be so particular in placement of where you put the paint. I know I talked about it in my last video if you happen to watch it, and if you haven't, go check it out, but I talked about really getting discouraged easily when it comes to my painting and the process. I know it's not going to look like a masterpiece right away from when you start it, but I almost wanted to give up with this piece because I didn't feel like it was looking as I wanted it to, because I'm a very harsh critic of myself. But I kept going with it, and I'm actually very, very proud of how it turned out. So as you can see, I started on the shirt and I painted the whole thing blue because he was wearing a blue shirt, and I tried to create the fabric patterns to create the effect that it looks more realistic rather than just one solid color. I actually found this very fun and challenging to do because I had never painted fabric before in, well, any piece of art that I've done. So here we did a closer look of what I did. So I painted that whole solid color first, and then I took the darker version to use as the shading, and I took a lighter color using titanium white to create the highlights to mimic the effect of fabric and dimensions. So I know that nobody noticed that I didn't post last week. I try to post every Friday, but last week was my last week of school, hence I had finals, and that was very, I don't know what word that was, but that was very challenging for me, as I'm sure it is for everyone. But yeah, I picked this up a week later and I continued with my painting. I went back to add details to everything, and I did the hair off camera because I didn't think it was gonna go well. I actually put off doing the hair the entire time, and I'm actually really surprised and really happy with how the hair turned out because I don't paint people, nor do I draw people, which is actually really funny because of my next video for next Friday is going to be me attempting to paint a self-portrait. So if you'd like to subscribe and be a part of this art family, I'd love it if you would subscribe and like and leave a comment. So this has been a time lapse of my attempt at trying to do a semi-realism painting. I'm very happy with how it turned out. Is there a few things I'd like to change? Absolutely, but I mean that can go for any piece, so you as an artist decide when you need to stop, and I decided that I was happy with how it turned out. So if you stayed to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you and take care.